Hey everyone, as you may be aware already, if you keep up with me on social media and even listen to some of the other podcast episodes, you may have heard me talk about the call center or the virtual reception or concierge that I've been setting up over the past couple of months. I am pleased to say that is now live. So we are currently in our first week of pretty much, I wouldn't say beta testing it because we've already beta tested it, but we're in our first month of it being, or our first week of it being live. And so we've got customers calling it now. We've got employees beginning to call it next week. And yeah, we're just seeing how things go. We're adapting based on feedback. And if our receptionist is struggling in some areas, then we help her build skills and knowledge in those particular areas. But yeah, it's very exciting. I'm very happy that we got this up and running because it was like one of the big dominoes that I just had to knock over in order to knock over a lot of other dominoes. So yeah, we're doing that now. We're taking it slow. So right now we've got Nicole, our new receptionist. She is a virtual receptionist, so she's in the Philippines. It's someone I wouldn't say headhunted, but I did a lot of interviews and I identified her as being the strongest candidate out of like 200 applicants. And she's got like 10 years in a call center experience. She's owned her own call center briefly. She's been a manager in one. She's got a lot of experience in cold calling. So she is a great asset to the team, and we are going to leverage her skills and knowledge and experience to grow the business into the next chapter. So she's doing that at the moment. She's doing great. I've been listening to her call recordings and they are going so smoothly. She's speaking so nicely to the customers and making them feel welcome, which is something I really emphasized in the training. I was like, this is going to be pretty much everyone's first encounter and their first experience with our business. So we want to make it a memorable one. We want to make it something that's going to set the standard and the precedent for everything else to follow in this working relationship. So you want to make them feel welcome, you want to make them feel at home, and you want to make them leave that call just having a nice feeling and a nice sense of accomplishment and I don't know, joy, I guess. That they picked up the phone and the person on the other end wasn't screaming at them or wasn't a hassle to deal with. Because you get that you call some places up and you might have a question and the person just seems like cranky or grumpy to have to even answer that question, and you're like, does this business even want my business? Do they want me to even give them money? So I'm like, no, this is going to be many people's first impressions of our business, their first interaction with us. So make sure it's a memorable one and make sure it's memorable for the right reason. So treat people with respect, even if sometimes they're not treating you with respect. Just have a very bubbly and upbeat tonality on the phone. Make sure you smile as you talk because it does convey through the phone even though you can't see it. And I try to do that when I podcast. I try to smile when I speak. I try to lift my shoulders up and maintain a good posture because even though you can't see the person you're speaking to, it does show in their tonality and the words they're saying and the inflections in their voice. So yeah, I'm very excited to have that up and running now. If you don't know, we have this, I'm calling it a concierge. I called it a call center at one point, but a call center really, it feels too corporate and it implies things that this isn't really for. So this is like a reception or concierge. It is to handle all inbound calls from customers, new and existing, and it's going to also be used by our staff. So we've got that. We've also got a virtual SMS number that will be text only. So if people want to call, they call the concierge. If they want to text anything last minute or urgent, or if they just don't want to call, they can text the SMS number. And now we have a lot more autonomy with this because we can all see the same call logs. We can all see the same SMS inbox. It's not tied to one phone that one person has, and it's great. So we're also going to be using that for a lot of outbound. So we start doing outbound through the concierge or the call center next week. So I've been building call scripts and we'll be training our receptionist on that as well. So yeah, it's been a process. It's been a few months in the making, but it's finally done. I'm very excited for the cold outreach because like I've said, this is kind of going to be the next stage and the next step in our journey of growth, because we're at a point now where we're going to plateau if we keep doing the same thing that we're doing, if we keep trying to chase residential at the same rate we're doing. So we're going to be focusing a lot more on commercial. I'm repositioning the brand a little bit. So just some little nuances with the brand and the website and the marketing. Some of that will change and start to shift a little bit. because we're going to be more centered around commercial and industrial growth, because that's how we're going to get from where we are now to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million and beyond, So cold outreach is going to play a big part in that. I've been pretty much all day yesterday and last night as well. I was just building cold outreach scripts and mapping out decision trees. So like if you say this and the customer says this, you reply with this, or this is the action that you take. So I've also been creating a lead gen system where we can, just generate a list of businesses in a particular industry or a niche, and we can get all of their contact info and we can put that into a list that our virtual receptionist Nicole can go through and begin to do outreach with them. And it has tracking mechanisms, so she can tick off who she's called, what the nature of the call was, any comments about the call, if they need to be booked in for a follow-up, if they've been booked in for a quote. And so that's how we're going to grow for the next stage of the business. But anyway, that's just a little bit of news, a little update for what's going on in my business. Now let's get into the topic for today's episode. So every week in the days leading up to the podcast day, like for me it's Tuesday because I release on Wednesday. So in the days leading up to the Tuesday every week, I just start to kind of tune my mind into like a frequency where I can settle on a topic that I want to talk about. And for whatever reason this week, this old Chinese proverb that I love pops into my mind for the first time in a long time. And it's something along the lines of, he who asks is a fool for 5 minutes, but he who doesn't ask remains a fool forever. So it's like, if you're struggling with something and you ask for help, you seem like an idiot for a minute. But the person who doesn't ask out of fear of being seen as an idiot remains an idiot forever. It's something that I remember reading it once when I was younger. I was probably like 16 or 17. And I was like, wow, this really resonates with me, because there's so many times where I've done that and I haven't asked a question or I haven't sought help out of fear of looking like an idiot, which is like so counterintuitive, because obviously you don't want to be in that position. So you need to ask for help. But in doing so, you are going to seem like a novice or a beginner or just someone who doesn't know the thing, but you're not going to be judged for that. And in fact, it has a very powerful psychological component to it that can actually be used to your benefit in a sales environment. But we'll probably talk about that soon. But it's like a very irrational thing that I think a lot of people struggle with. It's hard to put your pride and your ego to the side, especially as a business owner. We have to deal with so much criticism and ridicule as business owners, particularly at the beginning of our journeys when everyone's doubting us and everyone's like, they don't think that you can really do it and they're trying to talk you out of it. And all you're trying to do is tell everyone that you know what you're doing and you're backing yourself. And so the last thing you'd want to do is tell someone that you don't actually know what you're doing in a particular situation, or you need help on something, because then that just reinforces what everyone around you is saying, that you're not good enough, that it's a risk, that it's probably not going to work out, that the market's wrong, that it's not a great business. And so you get stuck in this negative cycle where you don't want to ask because you don't want to, you don't want to put your pride aside. You don't want to seem like you don't know what you're doing. But then in doing so, you continue to not know what you're doing, and then you struggle, and then things are bad. So coincidentally, I also read an article this week that was sort of on the topic of what we're talking about now. And I just stumbled across it by pure dumb luck. And I don't really read blogs and articles that much, but this one just stuck out to me for a second. And it was this article on Medium that says, or the headline is, The Price of Becoming. Why are we so afraid to look stupid? And I was like, interesting. Just as I'm starting to think about doing a podcast around, that Chinese proverb that I just referenced. And it goes into like the whole journey of becoming oneself, like the beginning stages, the embarrassing stages, the hustle and all of that. And it really was a bit of a trip for me, because there was this part of it where it's like, it was like the embarrassment and why it hurt so much, but it's also talking about everything I'm proud of once made me cringe. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, I'm proud of how far I've come with my brand and my marketing, but I used to cringe so much when I would look at my marketing back then, and even looking back on it now, I cringe at it. And it's because I was a complete beginner, I was a complete novice and didn't know what I was doing. And so that showed in what I was actually putting out there. It wasn't very good material, and yeah, it's just not very great to look back on. But anyway, I think one of my biggest struggles early on, and even up until recently, was that I just had this ego. I just had this sense of pride and like a grandiose sense of self as a business owner. Like I wanted people to think that I was better than I was. I wanted people to think that I was someone who had all the answers, that I was someone who had it all figured out, whether it be, fellow business owners. I wanted them to think that I was better than them. And the reason that I'm doing better than them is because I just have this magical gift that was given to me at birth, and it allows me to do business better than anyone else. And if it's like friends and family, I wanted them to think that I was making more money and having more success than I really was. And if I ever struggled with anything, I would just completely internalize it and not talk about it with anyone, because I'd built up this, not only this sense of myself in myself, like I had created this internal dialogue and this narrative, but then I'd also externalize that, and I tried to tell everyone that, and to have everyone have that perception of me as well. And so it put me in this really bad cycle where there were times where I was struggling and I was really apprehensive about reaching out for help and telling people about my struggles, because I'd already had this perception that I'd tried to create and tried to manufacture for myself for other people. And so it's not until I really started to put my pride aside and humbled myself and dropped my ego that I started to see big shifts in my business and also my personal life as well. When I finally relented and I was like, I'm not as good at doing this as I thought I was, and I should probably get a mentor. I should probably get some help. A lot of people will be like, I don't need help. I don't need a mentor. Like everyone's a scammer. There's too many scam artists out there, and there's too much misinformation out there, and like, I just don't need it. I'll just hustle and, I'll figure it out on my own. Like, you need to be able to have that discussion with yourself and put your pride aside and have a sense of humility in asking for help, because I think that I attribute a lot of my success to this shift I had, I don't know, about 1.5, 2 years ago, where I just decided that I was going to humbly become a student of this craft of growing a business and everything that's involved with that. And so I started reaching out to people. I messaged people on Facebook that I knew were other cleaning business owners that were, presumably doing a bit better than me or had very big businesses. And I just reached out asking if they would be willing to chat with me. And I would talk with them. I would ask them questions. I would tell them about my current problems, and I would just kind of offload all the thoughts and the negative experience and ideas and like things that were going on in my business to them, and have a two-way dialogue about that. And there was one guy who kind of mentored me in a way. I don't even think he would consider himself a mentor to me, but he played a big role in my kind of earlier stages. And it was because I just kind of dropped that whole ego thing of like, I don't know everything, and I'm not going to make progress if I don't realize that for myself, and I don't put that to the side and allow myself to get help and to grow. So like it's a bit of a mindset reframe. It's like, I would rather simply be successful and not have to tell people that I am, and people just see what I'm doing and they know I'm successful, rather than trying to tell everyone that I am when I'm really not, and giving myself permission to look foolish for 5 minutes rather than being ignorant forever. Because true confidence is persistence, it's not polish. Like, there would be times where I was doing a commercial cleaning quote early on, and I think I even did this for one of my big medical facilities that I do. And we were just talking about what we currently do, and I would be like, lying about the size of our team. I'd be like, yeah, we got a big team. We take care of medical facilities like this. And they would ask me like specific questions about the regulatory things that medical centers have to go through. And I was just kind of freezing up and stuttering a lot. And it was a really awkward interaction. I somehow won the job, but I remember after that, I was like, man, I feel like such a fraud, and I don't feel any sense of accomplishment for getting this client, because it was all built on like a fallacy pretty much that I'd been trying to sell them. And not long after that, I got the opportunity to go and quote for St. John Hospital, which is one of the biggest clients I have today. We still have them as a client. And I remember I just went in there and I was like, I'm just going to be my humble self. I'm just going to tell them, like, look, I've got like 2 staff. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I work really damn hard. And I'll maintain really good communication with you. If you call me, I'll answer it. I'll deal with any issues. I will adhere to anything. I will make sure that you're going to have a better experience with us than you've ever had with any other cleaning contractor. I will make it my undying mission to make this work. And, I just had this humble approach to the whole walkthrough. And when I talked to the assistant to the CEO and then the CEO and the hotel services manager for the hospital, I just dropped everything. I dropped the ego. I dropped this facade that I was trying to put up. And I was just like, yeah, like I am relatively new to this. I don't have a lot of experience behind me, especially in this particular field. I don't have a big team. And so I'm not even sure if I can take on all the work you're trying to give me. But I think what happened was it was kind of disarming that I was so forthcoming and honest with them in that setting, because they seemed to be much more engaged with me, and they seemed to let their guard down a lot when they were talking to me. And I ended up winning that, and we just kind of started off that arrangement slowly. We slowly built that up over time as my team grew as well. And fast forward to today, we've still got the client. We've still got the St. John Hospital client, and it's a huge one now for us. And we've built up so much goodwill and trust, and yeah, it's a great client to have. They really love what we do. And it all kind of started because I just had that weird feeling after this quote I did, and I was like, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like that I'm trying to put up this facade and this false sense of self and this false perception of what my business really is. So I went into that one and I was just humble and honest, and I won it. And I felt so much better about it. And then I kind of just carried that forward. And as I continued to grow, I had that humble approach to getting clients. I had that humble approach with hiring staff. I would train people. I'd be like, look, I'm not really great at this, but I do know I'm a great boss. I do know I'm someone who cares about people, and I really want to take care of my team, and I want to give you as many opportunities as I possibly can and help you grow in this role. Look, there's going to be things that aren't perfect. There's going to be things that I forget about. There's going to be things in the training process that we kind of skip on and skip over, and you might be unsure about things, and there might be this and that, but I'm going to work on fixing it. I'm going to work on making it better, and over time we will improve. It's not like we're the best, we have the best systems, everything's great, and then problems arise, and then you've already built that kind of disconnect because you put up this perception of what it was, and then it didn't turn out to be that. It's like a bait and switch. So I just kind of carried that forward through everything I did with the quoting, with HR and staffing and training and all that stuff. And not only did I have a lot more success with winning clients and also getting staff and retaining them, but I just felt a lot better about myself. I felt like I was being a more authentic and genuine person. And by the time I started making content online, I had pretty much fully adopted that mentality and that mindset of just having that humble approach to everything. Like when I made my first TikTok video, I was just like, hey, come along and clean this house with me. I wasn't trying to put up this facade of like, I'm a huge business owner. I have a team, because I had a team of like, more than 10 at that point, but I did not let on like I did. And yeah, I just built up my following based on that. I think I built up a lot of goodwill with my audience by doing so. And the reason I'm kind of making this episode as well is I see a lot of people that are making content online, and I'm kind of sensing that. I'm kind of seeing that they want to be seen as authorities, and they want to be seen as credible people that really know what they're doing and have a great big business, even though they probably don't. Like the evidence points to them not really doing what they say they're doing. And it's particular with coaches as well, or people that want to be coaches and mentors. I see a lot of discrepancies in what they're saying versus what they're actually doing and what is actually being shown. And I think if more people just took a more humble approach and just set their pride aside and drop their ego, they would have a lot more success in everything they do, whether it be quoting and winning commercial clients and residential clients, whether it be getting coaching clients as like an authority on TikTok. And hiring staff and keeping staff and training them, and just having more respect from people. Because when you let your guard down, when you're more honest and humble with people, they tend to respect you more, and they're going to drop their guard with you as well. So in a sales environment, we talked about how me kind of just dropping my guard and having humility and a very humble, honest approach to that sales conversation pretty much disengaged the gatekeepers and the people that were making the decisions. And it was a bit of a pattern interrupt for them, because they're probably used to people coming in with like a briefcase and a clipboard and like all this and that and talking about how great they are. I came in and I was like, look, I'm pretty green here. I'm pretty new to this. I don't have a full understanding of what this is going to look like or how we're going to tackle this, but I work really damn hard. And I've got clients like this who are happy to give me a reference, and that served me so much better than the old approach that I had, which was trying to pretty much fake it till I make it. And the same can be said about anything. The same can be said about you trying to hire staff. The same can be said about you trying to put out content out there into the marketplace, into the masses. So yeah, I never understood why that old proverb stuck with me so much. He who asks is a fool for 5 minutes, but he who doesn't ask remains a fool forever. I wasn't really sure why that stuck with me at the time, because I was quite young when I read it. But I always kind of remembered that, and I would quote it here and there, and I would cite that quote. But it's not until later on in my business journey that really became a part of who I am, and that became like one of the core pillars in my being, in my paradigm, in my worldview. It's like, I am going to drop my ego. I'm going to humble myself, and when I need help, I'm going to ask for it. I'm not going to lift my guard up around other people. I'm going to embrace the journey of becoming good. And what I realize is the real flex is being seen trying. It's not being seen as a success. It's not being seen as someone who's got it all. It's being seen as someone trying. When I look online and I see people that they're honest about their situation, but they're clearly trying and they're really putting in the effort to get to where they want to be, I have so much more respect for them more respect for them than people who are clearly just trying to put up a front. So I think a lot of early stage business owners will go through that. They can either go one way or the other. It's like, I'm just new to this, or they try to fake it till they make it. And because they're comparing themselves to other businesses online, and I kind of fell into that trap as well, where you look at other people and they seem to be doing great because everyone's putting up a front online. And so you think you have to do the same thing, but really you're all just on the same wavelength. And you're all on a level playing field. So I don't know, that was just something that popped into my head that I wanted to talk a little bit about. And this kind of felt like a diary entry, if I had to be honest. It was a really big part of my journey, was just dropping my ego, becoming more humble in my approach to everything. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but it's been a big part of my later stage journey in the business, and it's done a lot for me in my personal life. It's made my relationships with friends and family better, because I feel like a much more authentic person. And so I suppose all I'm really trying to compel you to do is embrace the journey and embrace the embarrassment and all the sucking that's going to come from not being good at what you're doing early on, and the things that you cringe at now and the things that you find awkward now. One day you're going to be proud of it, because it's going to shape you into a well-rounded business owner, a more well-rounded person, and a much more proficient business owner. So that's it. Don't be afraid to look dumb. He who asks looks dumb for a minute, but he or she who doesn't ask out of fear of looking dumb is just dumb forever. And here's a fun little exercise you can do. Just ask yourself one question this week that you've been afraid to ask, whether it be you're afraid to ask yourself and you're afraid to really confront that question, or if you're afraid to ask other people that question. Ask it to yourself first. You need to start with internally validating yourself before you can receive true external validation. I think other people try to go about it the wrong way. They try to seek external validation so that they can feel internally validated, but it really has to come from within. So ask yourself a question this week that you've been afraid to ask, and really confront that and really ponder it. And then once you've done that, ask someone else a question that you've been afraid to ask, whether it be about, how to do something in the business, how to set up a Google business profile, or how to set up Google ads. Ask someone who you think would be a good person to ask, who you think would be an authority, or someone that you can see is doing the thing that you want to do, just put your pride aside. Don't worry about competition and all of that. Just put it aside, ask the question, look dumb for a minute, but gain the knowledge and the skills that are going to equip you for life. I know, strange podcast episode. I'm realizing that. But again, this is me being humble. This is me showing, this is me showing who I really am. I'm someone who struggled with like identity, especially going into business, and just trying to make people think that I was good at what I was doing when I clearly wasn't. And I pretty much did a whole 180. Like I am proficient at what I do now. I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm good at growing a business. I'm good at building an audience, and I have the complete opposite approach. I want people to think I'm worse than what I am for whatever reason. So yeah, that was the episode for today. It was just something that I felt called to speak about based on my own personal journey and experience with that. So just humble yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to message that person that you think might be a good mentor and a good guide along your journey. And with that being said, thanks for listening to another episode of Self Made. I'll catch you next time.